So today we're going to be answering this question about what if there are partial payments made after a certain amount of time with simple interest. So let's go ahead and give this one a go. A debt of $18,000 is paid in three installments, paying $8,000 after 6 months, then an additional $5,000 after 9 months, and then the remaining balance after 12 months. If the simple interest rate is 7%, what is the amount to be paid after 12 months for the total debt payment? Okay, so first thing we need to figure out is that the reality is with simple interest is we only really have to pay on the original debt that we had taken out. And so we need to know, like, if there were no partial payments, what would the amount of debt be after 12 months? So that's the first thing we're going to figure out is what if there is no debt, no payments after 12 months? How much would the total owed be at that point? Now we know this isn't the case and we'll get to that, but right now we're just going to be calculating what is the future value after 12 months that we will owe if the present value, if the debt today is $18,000. So the equation we're going to use for that is that the future value, simple future value, is the present value times 1 plus IN. In this case, the present value is $18,000. That's how much we're initially taking out. Then we have I, which is the interest rate, that's 7%, so 0.07. And then N is the number of time periods, in this case, number of years generally. So I'm just going to put 1 since there's 1 year, there's 12 months here. So therefore, the future value is equal to $18,000 times 1 plus 0.07 times 1. So therefore, that's 18,000 times 1.07, so 7%. And that is going to give me 19,260. So in other words, let's say that we took out this money and we didn't pay for an entire year. That means that we would owe $19,260. Okay, next we have to figure out the future value of the first payment and what that would look like. Because here's the thing. This first payment is made after 6 months, which means after we have paid that, it's actually going to be worth more by that 12-month mark, right? In the sense that now we've paid off some balance, there's going to be less balance for interest to accrue moving forward. And so therefore, let's label this future value 1 just to distinguish it. And basically, this is the future value of the first payment. Now, this first payment was made after 6 months. So that means that there were 6 months of time where interest wouldn't have been accruing for this amount on the overall balance. So in this case here, our present value would be $8,000 because $8,000 was put on this debt. The interest rate is still 7%, so that does not change. And then the amount of time passed at this point is 6 months. But more importantly, there's 6 months left between the 6-month point and the 12-month point. So there's 6 months, and 6 months is equal to 1/2 a year. So N in this case is 1/2 for that reason. Not because we're 6 months from the start, but because we're 6 months away from the finish line. So FV1 is equal to, again, same thing, present value times 1 plus IN, which is equal to $8,000 times 1 plus 0.07 times 1/2. Let's grab our calculator to figure that out. So 0.07 divided by 2, or times 1/2, same thing, plus 1, and then times 8,000. That gives us $8,280. So basically, what this is saying is that putting 8,000 towards this at the 6-month mark is the equivalent of putting $8,280 towards this at the very end, right? They would be doing the same thing because of the time value of money, right? And now we're going to look at the next payment. So the next payment was $5,000 after 9 months. So let's figure out for that one. That's going to be future value 2. So future value of the second payment, which is the $5,000 one, So future value 2 is equal to the present value times 1 plus IN. So I is still the same. It's still going to be 7%. The present value in this case at this point is going to be $5,000 because that's how much the second payment is. And then N at this point, well, this payment is made after 9 months. So that means we're only 3 months from the finish line. So in terms of how long it takes where interest doesn't accrue, where we're going against the interest of the other one, is only for 3 months because there are only 3 months between the 9-month mark and the 12-month mark. Now, 3 months out of the year is 1/4 of the year. So N is going to be 1/4 for that reason. All right. So that is going to be equal to $5,000 times 1 plus 0.07 times a fourth. And let's grab our calculator. So 0.07 divided by 4 plus 1 times 5,000 is going to be $5,087.50. So basically, making a payment of $5,000 towards the debt after 9 months is the equivalent of paying $5,087.50 at the very end of the process. So now we have to calculate the balance at the 12-month mark because they want to know what's the remaining balance after 12 months that we would have to pay. So let's say at the 12-month mark, we wanted to fully pay the rest of the debt off. How much would we have to pay today? And then we could see if we're able to do that or not. So essentially, FV1 plus FV2 plus, we could just call this X, or we could say FV3 for like the third payment that we're presumably going to make today, ideally, after now that it's 12 months have passed, presumably, is equal to the overall future value as though we hadn't made the payments. So therefore, we're going to have 8,280 plus 5,087.50 cents because this is essentially how much we've already paid towards that balance, right? These are the equivalent amounts that would have been paid these are the equivalent amounts that would have been paid at the end at the 12-month point, plus X is equal to 19,260. So I'm just going to take that 19,260 minus 8,280 minus $5,087.50. And that gives me that X is equal to $5,892.50. So, therefore, if we were to make this payment today, if we wanted to pay off the rest of the debt today after the 12-month mark, we would have to pay $5,892.50. If we were able to pay it earlier, it would be slightly less money that we'd have to pay than this because interest wouldn't have had as much time to accrue. And in the event that we aren't able to pay the full balance today and we want to pay it a few months from now, then this number is going to go up. It's going to cost more than this, right? The future value of this, even more into the future than 12 months is going to be even more. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comment section, and we'll see you for the next one.